Hi guys, this is 10 signs that you're awakening, but you probably don't realize it. For those of you who don't know, I'm Eternos, and it is my mission to make spirituality accessible to as many people in the world. Now, for me to be able to do that, I need to present it in a way that is simple. And so at Eternos Academy, we take pride in making spirituality simple. Okay? Let's get into this without any further ado. Now, a bit about me. My journey into spirituality wasn't linear, wasn't straightforward, but there are a few common things that I noticed myself and other people have shared in our experience of awakening. Now, by awakening, what we mean is the process of being one way, be that religious, non-religious, or just existing, and then recognizing that we were created and born to do so much more, and awakening to the fact that we indeed are powerful in ourselves, learning to connect with our power, just realizing that the world isn't everything that it has been made or presented as to have been, okay? For most people, life is just money, work, family, and that's it, right? There is so much more depth to this world. And many people run into this understanding themselves, but of course it is a gradual process. But you may be going through this and you may be a bit confused. You may not be sure what's happening. And so I'm here to reassure you that you are normal, you are fine, and this is just a part of the process. So let's go into it. Sign number one that you are awakening is that you begin to question everything. You begin to ask a lot of questions. This has to do with reality, but also society, just everything in general. Like, I know for me, I started questioning certain things I believed. When I was awakening, for me, it was, hold on, my whole life, I've believed that there was this eternal punishment waiting for me. But I sat down and thought about it and, thought, well, I'm a human and I know that the love that I have inside of my heart is only a measure of the love that God has inside of his heart. And if in my heart, I don't believe that it's fair that someone is ever punished for an eternity beyond death, then how can someone who's even more loving than me be okay with that? These are all the questions that we begin to, ask, even about the universe, right? When I was studying physics, it's like, cool, if I'm just made of atoms and everything around me is made up of the same thing that I'm made up of, why can't I just dissolve into everything around me and move at will? And, all these different questions that come. It's like, why is this way? Why do we believe in this? Why is it that I have to live this certain type of way? Why can't I do this X, Y, and Z? You just begin to ask a lot more questions and question everything around you. This is a really good sign, because when you begin to question, you begin to grow. It's for this reason Yeshua said, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be as a child. Children are inquisitive. They ask questions and they don't really care. They're bold with it. They'll just ask a question if they don't know, and they don't have any pride or ego attached to it. They don't think that they know it all. And this questioning is the start of you beginning to surrender to the idea or the notion or the fact that you don't have it all figured out, which is okay. Look, it's okay for you not to have everything figured out, for you not to know everything. That's fine. It's normal. The process of you starting to question everything is good. Question, the systems that you are taught to believe, question the religion you were raised in, question how society is set up. It's all a part of you recognizing that something isn't right. Once you realize that something isn't right, you can then begin to fix it. If you believe that everything that you comfortably and currently live within is all good, then you won't want to change it. If you don't question the authority, politically, economy, every way in which the world runs, how are we going to create a better system than the one that exists if we don't question the validity or question how good the current one we have is, right? Have to. And yes, people may think you're crazy for this, but this is just the beginning. It's important. This is how you learn. You absorb so much more information as a kid because your brain is open to absorbing so much information. You don't have all of the different frameworks and things running through your mind that cause you to shut off from learning and experiencing that which you're supposed to experience. And so it's important to say that questioning everything is a great sign that you are awakening. Now, there isn't anything wrong with you. What I would say is, when you have questions that you think are valuable or important or that are really bugging you, write them down, okay? Now, a practice that I would recommend for if you have a lot of questions and you want answers from a reliable source, right, is begin to sit in the presence of mother and father, the source, energy of source, mother and father, two beings, and present questions to them, okay? Just like how you would your own parents. It's a relationship. Okay, you can do the same with the Supreme Son. I need to make a video. I think I have a video on accessing mother and father, but the Supreme Son, Yeshua, who in other cultures goes by different names. You can ask all of these beings questions, seven spirits, you can ask them, right? All of this will make sense, but there are many beings, guides, whatever you want to call them, that can provide you with information that will help you along this journey. At the very beginning of this stage, what I just said probably makes no sense, which is fine because soon it will. Just know it is okay for you to be inquisitive. It is okay for you to answer questions. Questions are how problems get solved. And sometimes you may have a question and you may see something and question something even within yourself. And you may want to go to family members and other people and ask, hey, haven't you thought about this? And they just won't get it and they'll call you crazy, right? I'm just letting you know things that may happen. It's all a good sign, all right? This is what comes with walking down this path. There is a bit of rejection involved, but then there is so much growth and expansion and love and just amazing things that comes from it. But if you are the type of person who all of a sudden has begun to question everything as to why things are the way in which they are, why we perceive reality in the way in which we do, it is a sign that you are beginning to awaken into your true self, okay? Number two is that you actually start to feel disconnected from your old life, old habits, things that you used to do. For me, for the majority of my teenage years, I used to listen to a lot of drill music, for example. I was probably a bit more violent than I am now. There's a whole load of stuff, right? Even activity and things that me and my friends were involved with, right? At the time you think, yeah, this is cool, you know, doing what we have to do. Well, not even have to, sometimes just doing things because you want to see what it's like, right? You and your old life, you start to feel a disconnect. Now, it's not that you all of a sudden stop, but it's a thing of where this doesn't bring the same fulfillment that it used to. And so this is even something that occurs with people when they enter into religion. You begin to recognize that there are parts of yourself that you used to entertain and enjoy that just aren't serving you anymore, right? Or just don't feel the same. You don't get the same kick out of it that you used to. And so you decide, or you recognize rather, that it's okay for you to disconnect, and you feel that disconnect. Now, oftentimes, don't get me wrong, there are people who still feel a disconnect between themselves and a specific habit or specific behaviors, but they still do them. That's not the point. The point is, if you start to feel that disconnect, it's a sign that you're being called to higher. It's a sign that there is a higher way of operating that doesn't involve these behaviors that are probably damaging to you and other people that we're supposed to embark on. So we gotta go higher. So you feeling a disconnect between who you are now and your old life is normal. Oftentimes, by the way, just a heads up when you're further along down your journey, there are often people who are attached, people who are attached to your old life. And of course, as you disconnect from your old life, you have to disconnect from people. And then you are gonna elevate up. And then later probably meet those same people who may be in the same place, which is fine because it's not about being better than other people, but you then will carry enough wisdom and knowledge and experience to then help those people also improve their lives too, okay? Which is good, because I have said this in my How to Protect Your Energy video, which you can check out, but you know, if you're in a group of 8 friends and they're all drug dealers, you're likely gonna become the 9th drug dealer. Okay, a lot of people don't have the personal power yet to be able to influence that many people and dominate or influence their energy fields in a certain type of way. Later on down the line, you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to be around people and have such a strong sense of identity that regardless of what they may try and get you to do, you don't succumb to peer pressure, old habits, or the old life. Even things that aren't as destructive, you will begin to let go of. And I'm not saying you can't do all these things, but you'll just have, let's just say, a rearrangement of focus and priorities. You will begin to prioritize things that actually benefit you. And disconnect disconnect and cut off things that no longer or that never have benefited you in the first place. So the second sign that you're awakening is that you start to feel a disconnect between you, your current self, where you're at, and your old life, okay? Number 3, now this is a big one for me, and I even still experience this now to a degree, and it's you begin to crave solitude, right? I fell in love with being alone, but not isolation. Solitude is different. I mean being alone on a human front, okay? Just being with myself, sitting down, being still, feeling the presence within me, and then obviously connecting to everything else that is out there and within us, etc. But you begin to crave solitude a lot more. You no longer need to be around people to have fun, or you just begin to feel drawn, okay, away from people. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be introverted to be spiritual. No, what it means is that you're just going through a transition where you're learning to focus more on what is within rather than on the external. And so rather than seeking validation from external things, you prefer now to be with yourself, to sit with yourself, to learn and grow within yourself. And this is just something that happens naturally. This links to 2 other points that I have, which are 8 and 9, but I just want to make it clear, there is nothing wrong with you craving solitude. If you are still around your parents, they may call you a shut-in, as my parents did at the time, because I was around them at the time when I had this awakening. To be like, oh, why aren't you going outside anymore? What's going on? Is everything okay? I was just in my room by myself, and I wasn't always even spiritually practicing. Most of the time it would just be me at my computer, you know, producing music, which later on went on to reach millions of people, which is funny. Craving this solitude and working on you and yourself and just being within your own presence is something that occurs when you're awakening. I remember, right, especially during lockdown, I fell in love with being by myself and just learning and studying spiritual things and things about the world and how the world was operating. And that was really when my awakening started. And so this is a common one. Now, craving solitude also means you may start to desire to leave institutions that you were in before that were religious. Sometimes it can even be educational institutions you may want to leave. I am not the one to tell you whether you should or shouldn't, but what I will say is if you're getting a strong urge and a strong unction to do something and you believe that it is for the betterment of yourself, I recommend doing it and taking that leap. I did. It took me a year and a bit to properly leave church. I haven't looked back since, honestly. And I very much wouldn't be the person that I am today if I hadn't have taken that step, because it then taught me that I can live off my own supply of the Spirit directly. And that really should be the foundation for everyone, okay? Craving solitude is normal. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's actually rich because you learn to fall in love with yourself, which then makes it even easier for you to love other people around you, okay? So craving solitude is another sign that you are awakening, and it is perfectly normal. Number 4 is that your emotional sensitivity increases. Now, this is a beautiful one. There are many people out there in the world who feel things, empaths, as you want to call them. We all do. We all have the capacity to feel because we all feel emotions. But your sensitivity to emotions increases. You become much more aware of what you're feeling, how you are somatically, right? You become much more in tune with who you are. And in some cases, you gain a little bit more control over your state. But at least for me, I remember I used to become a lot more sensitive to my emotions and a lot more careful. Whereas before I may have just crashed out and found it easy to get angry, I became a lot more sensitive to when I was becoming angry. And then it then becomes, well, why am I angry right now? What is actually going on? What is causing this anger? Why am I letting another person's words change the alchemical composition of my body? I didn't think it back then, but I thought someone else shouldn't be able to speak and make me feel a certain type of way. That isn't right. Because if someone else can literally just speak and release things and that causes a physical change within my body, that person becomes a master of me. And I become a slave to whatever they say, which means they're able to create an emotional reality within me that I don't even like and that's damaging to me. Now, I'm not saying that anger is bad, because anger is important. And if you don't get angry about anything, then there is an issue. The sensitivity of your emotions increases. Also, this manifests, right? Especially if, and I say this because a lot of people live around people or live with people, right? the people who you spend most of your time around, you can then begin to sense and become more observant of what's going on within them. So it's not just about you being sensitive to your emotions, you become more emotionally intelligent to what other people are feeling. And that's something that a lot of people often say about me. I observe, I see when it comes to other people and how they are, who pick up on things. I also sense things. This is what happens when you start to awaken. The reason why is because you're becoming much more intact with your soul, and your soul is where all of the emotional energy in your body lies. It's where you process information, and as you become more aware of it and in tune with it, you can then use it to sense the world around you, especially from a heart-to-heart point of view, because the heart, as you guys know or may know, has an electromagnetic field around it. I have videos that speak on this and that interacts with other people, etc., etc. That's not why I'm saying what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, if you are emotionally more sensitive now than you were before, it could be a sign that you are beginning to awaken. Now, it's just a reminder, I want to say this now before I forget, all of these signs are just an invitation to a much deeper walk of mysticism and of spirituality. This doesn't mean that you are guaranteed to grow spiritually. It just means that you're on the path, there is an awakening happening, and it is still up to you to decide as to whether you want it or not. We're not into forcing people. There are no consequences on a personal level. Like, you're not going to be judged or burned or anything for not awakening fully and going down the path. However, what I will say is there is a lot more fun and enjoyment to be had, and satisfaction and fulfillment within yourself on the other side of the awakening, when you then begin to grow and become who you truly were designed to be. And you can escape death. Immortality becomes an option too, you know, just in case people don't want to die, because I have no intention of dying. I have every intention of flying and rising. Hey, subscribe to Eternos Bryce and Jake. The fifth sign you're awakening is that you begin to see through people and through systems. Oh, it becomes so much more easy to detect when people are giving you nonsense, and you begin to see when systems are acting and how systems have a hold on people. It's like you gain a completely different view of the life. It's like Neo in the Matrix, right? He's living his life normal, all good, life cushy, right? Programming, making a bit of bread on the side, doing his little illegal whatever. And then all of a sudden he gets taken into this world where he sees that everything is run by systems. And most people in general are NPCs, right? That are waiting to be awakened. And, you know, it is your responsibility to grow, develop, and break out of the systems that you've lived in your whole life, okay? Now, I can't sit here and describe what it's like to be able to see through people and systems. But if you know, you know. Okay? School systems, right? Financial economic systems, right? Jobs, like the work systems, like you just begin to see how everything is so programmed. Like, at least for me, I first started to see it within religion, but then I also started to see it within the workplace. Then I also started to see it within just life in general. Like, you create your own boundaries, you create your own restrictions, you create your own systems. There is nothing stopping humans, if they want to disconnect from the world system, to going and living in the woods and just living a happy life, genuinely in the rainforest. Like, you could, and you could adapt and live there. So then oftentimes a lot of the depression and other things that people experience are because they are trying to fit into a system that has certain rules that wasn't even designed for them. And so they believe that because they don't look like what the system tells them they should look like, because they don't have what the system tells them they should have, they then become unhappy, right? When you begin to see through the systems, you then begin to understand that, wait, me on my own, I am what I am. And regardless of any system, I have a spirit within me that is abundant, powerful, and limitless. And it is my, I say right, because it is your right to operate from that. And then when it comes to people, you begin to see the systems in people. Now, when I see someone trying to rage bait me or, you know, even comments online or my videos or what I do or people reaching out, I understand that it's not even them speaking to me, it's the system speaking through them. And so it enables me to be more compassionate to someone else because I understand where they're at. Sometimes people generally want to understand, other times it's just a negative reaction within them because they're not used to seeing and being confronted in the way that they are confronted, okay? But this is good. People have programming. I'm here to be a disruptor, to disrupt that code and then ease people out of the matrix, if you want to call it that, into reality. And real reality is multidimensional. Real reality is spiritual, astral, and physical. That's what real reality is. It's not one, it's all three: body, soul, and spirit. That's what real reality is. Number 6, all right? Old habits become heavy. You will begin to continue living on your life as you do, but then as you then go to do the things which you enjoyed doing before, it's no longer as fun to you. You want an example? Let's say you're someone who used to sleep around a lot, go clubbing a lot, smoke weed a lot, do whatever a lot, right? And before you found it fun, you enjoyed it. You start to awaken and you go and try and do the same things, and all of a sudden it becomes not necessarily more difficult to do, but the weight of it, you feel the weight of it now because you know this isn't actually good for me. Like, what am I actually doing? You wake up the next day feeling horrible inside. Old habits, old things that you just used to do on the fly and think, oh yeah, it's all good, this is fun. Things that you used to enjoy doing, you can no longer do. This applies to everyone. And oftentimes as well, the easiest way to break off an old habit, by the way, guys, is to just cut off anything associated with that old habit. If you have a negative habit that you used to do with a certain person, distance yourself from that person. Of course, some of you may be like, oh, I don't want to cut off my friend. They've been my friend for 10 years. But every time I'm with that friend, I'm smoking weed, and I know smoking weed isn't good for me. Listen, I've just given you the easiest way. You can still be their friend and do all of that and then try to quit. Like, it's a more difficult way. But if you want the easiest way to break off old habits at the start, is just to disconnect and disassociate with everything that is associated with that habit, build up a new identity, and then you can reconnect with the people, okay? Because your identity is different. But trying to do that while still in the midst is very difficult. And you may find that for a few years, you're just battling. So cut it off. It's my best recommendation, okay? But there will be a fire challenge section in Eternos Academy. We already have the water one, which teaches you how to overcome food addiction. It teaches you how to fast for prolonged periods of time. We have air challenges, which basically just guide you step by step on how to master silence. Fire will come, which has to do with breaking old habits, lust, all of those kind of things there. And just the easiest way to do so. But your old habits feeling heavy is a very good sign. It is a sign of progress. It is a sign of you awakening. And so you do not have to worry at all. At all. It's a good thing. But if you want to make it easier for yourself, cut it off. Cut it. You remember that song? Number 7, you value truth over comfort. Now this, mama, this is a big one. Valuing truth over comfort. When you begin to value truth over comfort, you know you're really awakening, because this is now where divides happen. This is now where you have to decide whether you're going to pursue the spirit or stick with the same religion that your family have been following their whole lives, potentially putting the relationship that you have with your family at risk. This is when you have to decide whether you're going to pursue truth or stay within that which you already know. I mean, look at me, I'm a testament to it. I have lost friends, relationship with people I considered family, not because I've cut it off myself, but because they have cut it off with me, because they see what I'm on now, and they're just like, no, we want no part of that. And does it hurt? Yes, it hurts at the time. But then when you value truth over that, you recognize that the journey was always going to be uncomfortable. If you look at all of the prominent spiritual leaders and people who actually obtain the things that, you know, you want to obtain, even just successful people, even if it has nothing to do with spirituality and you just want to get rich, it's the same thing. You have to value truth or what you want or what you desire over comfort. You just have to. It's just life. It's how it goes, all right? And there's beauty in this, and there's a strength of character that comes in this when you go through this, okay? And take it from me, because I've been through this and I will continue to go through this, and I've learned to love this. Ooh, this is beautiful. This is when you know right? When you're able to put truth above comfort, beautiful, beautiful growth, all right? But when you start to value truth over comfort, over what's comfortable, over what you're used to, you know you're awakening. Valuing truth over comfort comes in many forms. Sometimes it has to do with self-acceptance, accepting that, you know, there are parts of yourself which aren't perfect, which need to be worked on. Sometimes it has to do with other people, you know, accepting the fact that these old habits and old people that you need to cut from, you need to cut off, you know, you need to cut off basically, you just need to cut them off. And that's more valuable than staying with them. It's all these little things which are very, very, very important. I hope I'm making sense so far. If I am making sense, or if you have any questions about what I've said so far, by all means, drop me a comment, shoot me an Instagram DM. Now, number 8. This is another big one. You begin to feel an inward pull, okay? Now, this is you and this is the world that we live in. And we are taught to basically experience everything from the outside in. Our whole lives, and if you're in the academy, I have a teaching on this, so I just want to keep this brief, but our whole lives, we're basically taught to experience the outside world and let that dictate who we are. You got people, we've got fashion, we've got ideas, and we all just absorb. But what you need to start doing is you need to start living from the inside out, right? Rather than experiencing the world, you begin to influence the world. Now, how we go about doing that is quite simple and straightforward, but the sign that you're awakening is that if you begin to feel pulled to focus on what is already inside of you, this inward pull, right, is the early stages of you then being able to influence the world based on who you are. If you don't know what's here at your core being, you can't then begin to spread that into the world. You can't. You must first unlock and understand what's here to spread it. So if you are beginning to feel pulled to what is within, to focus within, into more meditative states, into periods where you actually just assess who you are, why I act the way I act, why I believe what I believe, all of these kind of things, it is a very, very, very good sign that you are on the path of awakening and that very soon you are going to be able to connect with the deepest parts of yourself, influence the world, grow, be powerful, have an impact, the whole shebang. And as I have said before, this is one of the things and one of the reasons why I'm teaching in the first place. I want to get people doing that. Number nine, silence equals power. If you begin to recognize the power of silence, and this was really a big one for me, it's a sign that you're awakening. Around year 9, I sort of realized through observing a friend in particular how silence made his life a lot easier. And so when I started being silent, I then started to recognize, whoa, I'm silent, I'm not talking as much. I have a lot more power in terms of over my emotions, how I respond to people, how I even come across. I was able to keep myself a lot more regulated, keep myself more balanced, which in turn resulted in better soul health. And when you do this for years, later on down the line, when you then start connecting with the soul, it's much easier to work with because there's less work to do on it. I practically didn't have to do much work. When I actually understood how to do work on the soul, I didn't have to do much work on it because for the years prior from when I started practicing silence intentionally, I'd already been doing it. And so it was less of an issue. Whereas I know a lot of people spend a lot of time with, you know, releasing trauma, working with their chakras and all of that. I didn't have to do too much, right? Don't get me wrong, I was meditating every day for like a good 2 years, but that wasn't for that. That was just me connecting with mother and father's energy. But that's all good, okay? When you begin to recognize that silence is power and that there is more power that comes from you being silent and you delving into the mystery, and it's like a loop that goes on, you know you're on the right path. And finally, you begin to realize that that most of the world, this is just a sign that you're awakening, a big one. You begin to realize that most of the world are NPCs who suffer from groupthink, okay? Now, what I mean by that is, if you're able to be real and recognize that there are loads of people in the world who are in need of what you carry, who you can assist in growing and developing, you then gain a sense of agency, which is no longer just about you, but you're awakening to the fact that I am supposed to do more to help more people so that we can all rise as a population, as humanity. That's why I'm here teaching, right? There are loads of people who know the things that I know and who may not teach on camera, but when they go around and interact with people, that interaction is them, you know, playing their part. But ultimately, The reason why we are here is not only to benefit humanity, but to benefit that which is beyond humanity. And when you understand where humanity is at, we can at least then begin to, okay, understand what we need to do to make where we live now, be it this planet, look like how the spirit looks like. I want Earth to look like how heaven looks. That's why I do what I do. For Earth to look like heaven, we can't think like NPCs, and we can't think in a groupthink kind of manner, which is where there's the same mentality, same thought processes all shared by a specific group of people, no individual critical thinking skills whatsoever. When you realize this, it is step one to you then wanting to take action to change the world and help people heal. And it is on the back of your own personal experiences that you can then begin to do this. But with that, guys, those are 10 signs that you are awakening, that you are going through an awakening. And I hope that you are now reassured that you are not crazy. I know that there is someone out there who has heard me say the things that I'm saying right now, and it is speaking to exactly where you are right now. And that is perfect. Because now you know you're normal, you're all good, you're not crazy. Anyway, guys, that's me, Eternos, out.